just waiting for a few more people to come in, so we'll give it a few more minutes. But I can see we have a very good representation from around the world joining us today. So we'll give it just a couple more minutes and then we'll get started.
We've got a global audience, Andrew, today.
Well, that's all for you, Andrew. The two Andrews.
The two Andrews. That could be a comedy show.
It should be.
It's great to see everyone. Some exotic locations for people coming in from Colombia, Brazil, Sweden, Argentina, wow, Amsterdam, Kenya, wow. This is amazing. These are all places I wish I was now.
Germany.
Germany. I love Germany. India. Okay, this is totally global. Stockholm, Sweden. India. This is brilliant.
The US. Somebody's up nice and early.
Miami, yes. My boss Jane was in Miami the other week. Let me know when you want to start, Andrew.
Okay, I was just giving out a couple more seconds. Okay, I think we'll make a start. Well, first of all, again, welcome everybody for joining us today on how to grow your revenue in an AI search engine future. Andy and I were having a discussion at the beginning of the year as to what was really driving the marketing world. And when I say driving, we were talking about what's going to drive the marketing world mad in the coming months and year. And the fastest thing that's out there at the moment is AI. And no matter where you go, you're now seeing AI popping up. And this is going to make a considerable impact on how we look at brands and how the search engine marketplace is going to look in the future. So I had a chat with Andy and he was keen to put something together for us all. So I'm going to hand you over to Andy Holland, who is a massive thought leader in this area. In fact, he's got about 54,000 followers on LinkedIn who avidly follow all his words on a weekly and daily basis. Andy, I hope that's bigged you up enough, so no pressure. Over to you.
No pressure at all. Okay, so I'm going to expand the screen a little bit here, so you should be able to see the slide. Can everyone see everything in the chat? Is everything working okay? Can you hear us clearly? Brilliant, thank you for that. Okay, so I have a lot of slides to get through, but I think this is going to be one of the most interesting presentations you will have heard recently on SEO, because I'm going to bring in an awful lot. And it's not just about SEO, it's really about business growth, organic growth. And yeah, it's called Brand versus AI, how to grow your revenue in an AI search engine future. So let's have a look at the story so far. Where are we right now? Okay. Google is adding AI to search. I mean, that's quite a bit of an understatement in many ways, because AI has already been powering search for a long time. We know that. But what's happened over the last year or so, we had OpenAI launch ChatGPT and Bing included it. And this presented a threat to Google's search dominance. You know, they've got 89% of the search market share, I think it is. And they took action, and this was what they did. It was called SGE, which stands for Search Generative Experiment. And the idea is fairly simple with this. What Google wanted to do is change the way search happens. And at this moment in time, it's an experiment. We don't know if this is going to launch or not. And we don't know when they're going to launch it. It could be tomorrow. But when it does, if it does launch like this, we know it will instantly change the search market. And it will change the search market because what happens is when you type something into Google, they will load an AI script content, basically some knowledge of some form, and with some links. And that's powered from content that previously existed on the web. Now, in all truth, we've already had something like this for a long time called featured snippets. And the featured snippet literally took some of the content onto someone's site and displayed that. What happens here is Google is taking things it's already discovered and consumed and creating its own bit of content. And the idea is that people can read it, become more knowledgeable about a subject instantaneously without having to click through. So it's going to change things. It's going to change things for a lot of businesses. Now, the truth is AI can access the internet for you, and an example is ChatGPT and Google's Bard. So OpenAI created their ChatGPT, and I use that all the time to do tasks, and it searches the web for me, and it does stuff for me, and that's why it's so useful. Now, what I would say is this is a lot to get people's head around because there's so much change going on so quickly. And it's in Google's best interest to create a better quality search engine because we know, SEOs have spammed it to death. But the future is an interactive search engine. This is a search engine which is very different than us just looking at content or looking for websites. This is a search engine that helps you get stuff done. And more recently, we saw this because Google announced that Chrome is getting 3 new generative AI features, and basically things that help you to search. You can do a little circle on your phone and search for an image. It's very, very clever what they're doing, and they're bringing out more and more, and I expect that to accelerate, not decelerate. So what this means is that the goalposts have changed and search is different. And search is changing. So information is now a commodity, whereas before information used to have a cost to to creating it. Now you can press buttons and information is created straight away. It comes from the knowledge that these LLMs have already gained, and all it's going to do is present that information to you. So, and you can see this with one of the things that's coming out now from Google. They're creating a basically generative AI that helps you fill in things to make life easier for yourself. And it doesn't really take much imagination to understand why, because heck, we're all lazy. Everyone's wants to consume as little energy as possible doing a task, and who wants to keep typing into forms online and things like that when it can do it for you? And that's the reality of this. We're heading to a version of the internet which is helps you to do things, help you to get stuff done, and basically reduces the cognitive load and the need for you to do tasks which it can take care of, which is brilliant as far as I'm concerned. But the question is this: how can you plan for a future search engine that we can't really imagine? And that's the truth here. We don't know how it's going to look. We don't know what it's going to look like. And this is just the first iteration. We don't know what search is going to look like in the next 5 years from now. Technology is evolving that fast. So what's the secret weapon? What can you do to protect yourself from all these AI and technology changes? Well, it's actually quite simple. You need to become searched for. And we don't talk anywhere near about this as we should do because everyone's obsessed with being found in search. And being found in search is very expensive. You know, you have to do paid search listings or SEO listings. It's expensive to get those rankings where you want to. But being searched for is by far the most powerful weapon that you have and can build your marketing channels around this. How can we be searched for? Now, that's the big question, okay? How does this happen? Because it's all right saying, yeah, great, increase brand search. That's, yeah, pretty straightforward, Andy. But how do we do that? Well, it takes a shift. And that shift is to move from information building to brand building. And that's the key here. Move from information to brand building. So, because information now is a commodity, there is very little value in putting out information that people already know or other brands have done. There's lots of reasons to create information and create content, but for SEO, there is very little reason to just completely rehash what's out there. And even from a marketing science point of view, it doesn't make much sense. You don't get much from it. That's not to say you don't create great content that your audience will love, your customers will thank you for. That's very different. But building a brand is what you want to focus on. Everything is the brand, the mental availability, the likelihood that people will think about you in a buying situation is the most important thing that you can focus on. Traffic to your website is vanity, profit is sanity. Now, search has always contained two parts to it: buyer search and informational search. Now, I always have this thing where for a long time, I used to think informational search was really powerful because it got traffic. And as my marketing brain evolved and I learned, and as I ran my own business and I could see sales happening where they came from, that very much changed. And I know that the buyer search, people looking into buying, being ready to buy, is incredibly powerful. Whereas the informational search is less powerful unless it's part of the category research. So, if somebody is researching into buying the category and you can create information that matches their queries and get ahead of it and get in front of them, you will win some kind of brand recognition that is important. But that means that a lot of informational search out there is kind of useless. A lot of creating search content just for ranking and traffic is kind of pointless as well. And there's a reason why it's even getting more pointless. It's because informational search will reduce. And that's coming. Whether we like it or not, informational search will reduce because of a couple of key reasons. And the big why is black hat SEO. Hey, look, SEOs as an industry generally have the empathy of a brick. They will do anything they can to get rankings, and that's just their job. I mean, and some people do it the right way, some people do it the wrong way. And I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong, black hat SEO, but we've seen recently with a case where an SEO, this is from Twitter and Jake Warden SEO, openly published thousands of pages of content, took it from a sitemap from a competitor, and basically recreated a competitor's thousands of pages, thousands of words of content, and did it within a period of months or weeks. And it completely replaced them where they were ranking. So this is the reality that people need to understand, that aside from Google now actually creating content itself, and they're going to create content and rank for content, we've got other people have the ability to take all your hard work, all your content you're creating, and actually go and copy it in seconds. It doesn't matter how good your content is. It can be rewritten in minutes and rewritten so it passes plagiarism detectors. Now, we can talk about Google coming out with AI detectors, pardon me, and things like that, and that may happen, but at this moment it's not. They've openly said they don't mind AI content. They don't care how it's created as long as it's useful for the search user. So, and we can see with that website, this is from Hrefs' tool, Hrefs report, where we see that website where that SEO did that. We can see that where they got a manual penalty there is where the decline happened. So, and it's as obvious today is that they've had a manual penalty from Google and they've lost all their traffic. So it's kind of like a zero-sum game. There was no point in doing it in the first place, and there's even less reason to do it now. But it should serve as a warning to everybody and say that, hey, content and producing content at scale is not really a defense to the future of AI, because whether somebody else is using AI to copy your content or Google's going to take away that informational search, it is not a battleground that's good for you. So the only way to battle this is to increase brand search. That's how you do this. That's how you deal with this whole situation, is to increase the amount of people searching for your brand. And you do that by you tell people that you exist and you capture the demand that comes with that. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't go for non-brand intent search queries, which is what we'll talk about. If there's a buyer typing something into Google, you do want to try and rank for that. That's very different than creating endless blog posts for the purpose of trying to get traffic from search engines, from people who are searching for something to do with your sector. That's very different. That's a very different tactic. but you want to tell people you exist and capture the demand that comes with it. So that's it. This is the process. And I don't want to make it any more complicated. This I don't think we need to. Just tell them you exist, capture that demand. But okay, how does this actually look in reality? In reality, this is how it looks. This is your marketing mix. I know everyone talks about marketing mix all the time, and this is how you reach people. You reach people through advertising and publicity. You reach people through social media. And when I say social media, what I tend to meet is advertising and creative advertising on social media rather than necessarily organic. Although I do organic, it works really well. It's just not a fixed way. You know, it's undefined. But advertising and PR, advertising and social media and organic social media. Now, you'll see SEO. SEO is what I do, and my agency does both SEO and PR and digital publicity. We don't do PPC and we don't do social media. So why is that? Well, there's a reason behind that, and that's because the PR fuels the SEO, because not only do we get brand click-through rates and brand search, we also get links and media mentions. And I'll touch about this in a second. But that's how advertising budgets should be made. So you need to have PR, you need to have creative advertising. Yes, you need to be advertising on social media because there are people there. We know that. SEO, you need to be going after the buyers. It's not creating loads of informational content. And paid search, and I say PPC there, but by PPC, I mean paid search listings. Those paid search listings are there to pick off what you can't rank for organically, or for you to replace with organic search when you can. And this is a very opposite to the way most people do things, because most people will put paid search as their biggest expense and not consider trying to build brand search. And that for me is a huge mistake. And this is little graphic sort of explains how it does, how it works. Is PR takes your brand to people, whereas SEO captures search demand for your brand and also for non-buyer intent keywords. Now, people say to me, well, what does that matter? How does that actually work? Well, in the truth, we're trying to get your brand mentioned. When you do PR or digital PR or publicity, what you're trying to do is get your brand mentioned in content that people read online. And yeah, we want links, and that all helps with the SEO. But making your brand aware, making your brand known to people, making people know it exists is important. Now, we can't control how that's written or what the journalists do, but what we do is we create interesting content, be that through stories, through data, through surveys, through other aspects, through reacting to what journalists are looking for. We create content, we send it to journalists with the hope of doing a couple of things. We hope you get your brand mentioned, that's what we want, your brand mentioned in the text, and certain amounts of people reading that news article, that online piece of content, will be in the market today for what you offer, and they'll search for you today, and they'll search for you either by brand name, or when they're searching with non-brand search, buyer intent search, they will recognize your name because they read it literally like half an hour ago, and we know that happens. And the other thing is that a lot of these people, there will be people coming into the market very soon, so you're making them aware of who you are and what you do. But this is what the key part of this is. Digital publicity improves the relationship you have with the public. That's it. You're helping the public to better understand the world they live in. And what you do is you send your brand, you're taking your brand and sending it out to the public, because believe it or not, we're very good at ignoring advertising, but we like stories. Stories interest us. And when someone's reading the news or newspaper, or I'd say newspaper, what I mean is online journalism, what happens is people read. They read it because it's a story, and it allows your brand to enter their story, and they see you, because we're really good at ignoring advertising, but we love stories. So creating stories that your brand can be inserted in is what matters. But that's not all. When you do digital PR and that kind of approach, you create a better relationship with search engines. And that's the point, is we're telling search engines what your brand is, what it does, what you're experts in, and that's been featured on external publications. So I'm just going to have a quick drink just for a second. Now, I'm going to get geeky, really geeky now with some SEO stuff. And this is going to help you to understand where to go. So LLMs, large language models. This is the word we're going to hear more and more about LLMs. Change search engines. And hey, Crystal, I just saw your chat. Let's get geeky. I love that. So LLMs change search because they change search because search understands our language differently, better. So let me just rephrase that a little bit so it's more clear. LLMs, which is what search engines are going to be powered by in the future, and certainly that's like ChatGPT is an LLM, and Google's got its own versions and so have others. They allow search engines to understand content better. They can understand intent, and more appropriately, they can understand context. When you say one thing, they understand what it means or another thing. Now, I'm not an LLM expert. I know there's a lot of science around about how it recognizes data and words, but that's not what you want to take away from it, because when you type into an LLM like ChatGPT or Google's Bard, it understands what you want. And that's the key message here. It understands what you want and what you are trying to do. And if you write something, it can improve it for you. So they understand our language. Now, this is where this is going to change. Search will shift to assistance. It's not how you do something. It will help you to do things. And that's the key bit here, is people will go to search engines because they want to get things done, not necessarily because they want to, how should I describe this? They want to learn how to do something. There's loads of platforms that will teach people how to do things. When they go to search engines, they want to get things done, and AI is going to help you to do that. So we need to evolve our brands and our businesses and our online search strategies to understand where the future's heading, and it's coming quickly. It's coming to help us do something. We just saw earlier about Google Circle, about the Chrome tools, about how it's going to fill in forms online for you. Friction is going to be reduced for those of you who love behavioral science. Google is trying to reduce the friction of purchases, and that's a good thing, by the way, because decision fatigue is real. Who has been online, and I'm sure you probably say this in the chat, folks, is who's been online, tried to find information, and you have a lot of issues trying to find the answer. Either it's on a web page loaded with too many ads, or you're trying to find it and it's got too much information on there, such a big introduction. It's cognitively hard work. All this AI does, all this AI search does, is reduce that. So ideally, what will happen is we'll purchase quicker because we'll get things done faster. And that changes your job as an SEO. If you're watching this as SEO or watching this as a brand manager who's got organic search strategy in place, it changes where you should look at your brand. Google eats information and know things. I actually think that should be on a mug somewhere or a t-shirt. It's the truth. That's what Google's doing now. It's eating up all the information online. That's what it does anyway. And it's learning. This is artificial intelligence. It knows things. So you need to change your job. And your job isn't necessarily have to throw a load of information online, which is what we've been doing, just randomly copying information from other websites or getting writers to do it and then try and put it on our own website to try and win some kind of brand affinity, which never really happened. Your job is to feed Google. And we see Google as like a child thirsty for knowledge, and you want to feed it. And you want to feed it knowledge about your brand, your product, and your services. And that's the key here. And you want to feed the search engine because the search engine will reward you because it will understand more about you. Now, how you do this, you create factual and helpful content site-wide. Now, I'm going to actually dive into a example here, and I covered this in my newsletter yesterday. If anyone's not subscribed to my newsletter on LinkedIn, it's called Growth Through Content. It's on my bio. I publish every week. I publish a bit of a case study, and I went and did a deep dive on this yesterday, but I'm going to cover the details. So TripAdvisor as a website is thriving despite all the recent Google updates, and it's doing that for a few different reasons, because every page on TripAdvisor is packed full of information. So look at this listing here for Hotel Colline de France. And what you have, you Google, see, you land on this page for whatever reason you got there, and you land on it, and it's got 4,000 reviews. You can see that it's a 5-star hotel. You can see it's number one of 110 hotels in Gramado. So this listing, this page, is telling you that it's a very well-known hotel, very well respected. Tells you it's number one on the list of 122 in the Gramado area. It gives you its address. It gives you its phone number. It gives a link to the website. It gives the email ability. It allows you to write a review, check availability. You can see photos. Now, LLMs are understanding photos. They're understanding images. We know this. That, I don't know the technology behind it, but that's what's happening. And you can see straight away. And it's just loaded up like this, by the way, folks. So this is inside like what we used to call the hero section. You can see a lot of information. A heck of a lot of data is in that. And you as an individual will straight away know whether this is a hotel you want to learn more about, because you've got so much information in a short period of time. And that's the same for search engines. That page gives a heck of a lot of information in a short period of time for Google to consume. And then if we go down the page, and I'm not going to show you all, but we've got here more. We can see that this is rated excellent for location, cleanliness, service, and value. So we know that this is a great value hotel in a good location. And we know that service is fantastic. We know it's got free parking, free high-speed internet, heated pools, everything else, free breakfast, children's television network, and it gives us a nice, rich description of where it is. And then we've got the map. It gives you all that kind of detail. It talks about the restaurants nearby, the attractions. And then we go, and then you've got this whole user-generated content that they've created, and you can filter and you can search things. Now, what I want you to look at in this little example is those little facets there. We've got the all reviews, unique experience, Rio Grande do Sul, Luco, Jewel. These are things that people are typing in to the reviews and people are searching for. Now, this is key because Google is doing the same thing with search right now. When you search for things, these search facets now appear. And when you click on them, it expands the search that you've made initially into a longer tail version. So what it's doing is it's actually helping you to be, for the best in the world, it's helping you to find what you want exactly. Now, it's tough because when we go to search, I don't type in family holiday Jamaica hotel suitable for kids with great fast Wi-Fi and a gym. I don't type that as a search query. We type hotels in Jamaica or family hotels Jamaica, that kind of thing. And because we like to reduce our cognitive load, that's where we start. And traditionally, you would have had to go and have a look at all the search results and try and find this information. But the future of AI, or the future of search, is going to allow you to find what you really want faster by producing these facets and encouraging you to get down. So you'll be able to click a button to find a search or find what you really want. But the only way that Google can understand the context is by having all that information rich for it to feed its LLMs in its own systems. So you've got to have this situation where you're giving factually and informationally rich content to people on your website, because we used to think about this as if you were trying to target a long tail, you would have to create thousands of pages, each with a different keyword variation. That's not anymore going to be the case, because a single page can be many things to many different people and many different use strategies. So for example, this hotel, I might be looking for a hotel with great service with like an Art Deco sort of feel to it. I might be looking for a hotel that's got children's television networks and free Wi-Fi. What about the parking? Different things matter to different people. But one hotel can be many things to many different guests, and it has lots of things going for it. And that's the same for everybody's products and features that they do. So we can see, pardon me, this is TripAdvisor's traffic, that despite all these updates that have been hitting loads of websites all over the place, TripAdvisor is pretty much immune and still growing. So I think you need to look at sites like TripAdvisor to see what are they doing right. And I've just shown you they're very information rich. And it's called information fitness is the word. Now, to do this, you've got to display your EAT and your what is known as your experience, your expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. It's not a ranking factor, but it helps train their systems. TripAdvisor is clearly displaying its expertise because it's saying it knows everything about that hotel. Hey, it knows everything. We know it knows everything because that hotel's probably done the listing or worked with TripAdvisor, and they've got that data and created those pages. It's done programmatically, but you can take the same approach and you can display EEAT on your own website in much the same way. And you might not be TripAdvisor selling hotel listings and things like that, but your business serves probably has a heck of a lot of benefits, a heck of a lot of features, things it does, people it helps, and you can display that, not just rambling on with a load of text, but you can display that in a very well-designed fashion. And you can talk about how great you are. You can display your knowledge, display your experience. You can talk about your experience, and there's loads of ways to do that. And I don't want to go into that on this call. Now, it isn't just about displaying it on your own website, because this is what we know. Years ago, what we've done is in this habit of displaying what we do and what we're about just through content on our own site, information we put out there in form of blog articles, our landing pages, our sales pages, and product pages, and then we've gone and gained links, and that's how the internet fuel backlinks. It's far more complicated and intricate now in terms of you need to display your EAT on the websites of others as well. And that's not guest posting, by the way, although guest posting is a strategy, it's fine, just don't do it for links, because that's not what we're in the business for. If your audience is reading certain publications, it makes sense to you to tell that audience, your prospects, about you where they are. So if they're reading different news outlets, media outlets, and things like that, you being featured on them makes sense, because that's telling Google on an authoritative website, it's going to see and it's going to tell Google that you are authoritative and you are being featured on other websites, and other websites are listing you as experts, and that's the kind of cycle we want. But this is nothing new. Brands for hundreds of years have used publicity to tell people they exist, and that was a fundamental part of advertising. Now, the big question is, how do you measure this? Because people get annoyed, and this is part of the problem we have, as budgets tend to go into things that can get measured, which is why so much money went into paid search, SERP listings, which is basically the same as your organic listings, except you're getting less reach and paying more for it. And that has driven the cost up of paid search listings. Everyone is bidding on being on the shelf. It's like being in the shelf in the supermarket. That's the reality of it. Whereas if a person knows you exist, when they walk onto the search engine, the digital aisle, so to speak, they are more likely to recognize you. And brand awareness actually reduces the need for you to be ranked highly on, 1, 2, and 3. Yes, we know 1, 2, and 3 and 4 get them more clicks, but you can be in position 6 or 7. If they see you and recognize you, you are likely to get a click. So brand search helps no matter what. Brand exposure, brand advertising, creative advertising, publicity, it is a protective measure all around. So how you measure this is you get an increased share of brand intent search queries and an increased share of buyer intent search queries. And that's your new SEO performance. That's where you want to go. And the reason why I say that is because this metric's already in existence. I've talked about it many, many times, and I'm going to talk about it now, because if you do that, you have an increased share of search. Now, share of search is a leading marketing metric because we search for things we're interested in buying or are likely to buy in the future. Now, that's the way it goes. So I was searching for an e-ink tablet some time ago, and I was searching for cars because I was interested in leasing a car, and I searched loads. It took months and months and months. I came across many, many brands, and I was exposed to countless marketing messages. And the brands with the greatest share of search are the brands likely to get purchased from in the future, because what happens is Google's told us there's something called a messy middle. We have a trigger to go to search engines. We search, we explore the category, we research the category, that defined amount of products and services, and then we know more, and we'll then end up with 1 or 2 or 3 or even 4 or even 10 things that we might go forward and purchase from, 10 brands or products or services that we're likely to buy. And then what happens is we evaluate those against each other, be it mentally or even on search, and then we pick one and we go forward through a funnel of sales. And so share of search is the metric that matters. And I don't care who you are, what business you're in, being searched for, how much your brand is being searched for really matters, and increasing that. And also, if you being ranked organically for those terms that are non-brand search but are buyer intent, you want to get a big slice of that pie, because that's how you grow. This is how you will reach more people. You'll make more sales. You gain increased mental availability, increased physical availability, as they say it from the Ehrenberg Bass Institute, and that's how you win. Now, I'm going to talk about my telescope here, because this is how you measure share of search. Now, there are lots of ways to measure it. You can go to Google Trends and try and do it that way. That's a nightmare. You can obviously, we've got our own SEO tools that allow you to measure buyer intent keyword, but there is nothing on the market right now that's so cost effective and affordable as my telescope into measuring brand search. Now, when I say this is really useful, because you can actually measure search in a category. You can measure trends. You can find here. Now, look at this. I've done a comparison, ChatGPT versus Bard, to look at the different options out there. So, and I'll give you an example. So over the last year, ChatGPT login has been searched for something like 80 million times. Well, that tells you that ChatGPT really isn't doing a very good job of helping people log in. So that's something that OpenAI could look at. Okay, why are so many people struggling to find the logins? That's something that could go on. And you've got here, you've got other terms like how to use ChatGPT. Okay, well, that's interesting, because 4 million people don't know are searching over the last year for how to use ChatGPT. And that tells you that OpenAI probably should give some kind of training and some kind of marketing space to encourage that, because there's a need. And this what you don't get with normal traditional search tools, and don't get with SEO tools of monitoring. You don't find out what's going on around your brand, because if we feed search engines and we feed brand search through publicity and creative advertising and social media advertising, what happens is we create brand search. And this allows you immediately to be able to see this. Now, the reason why I love my telescope is that what it does is it layers data. So you get data every month about the preceding month, and this builds up into a trend. Now, it's really interesting as well, because if you can see interest in your brand declining, then you need to go and get some advertising, because that's telling you in the future that there is likely to be less sales for your brand. Now, that's a problem, because it's going to increase demand or reduce demand for your services and product, because less people are searching for you. And it tells you you've got a marketing problem, that for some reason something's happening in the market. Now, the great thing about my telescope is it allows you to look at the market. So if you're declining and everyone else is, there might be a decline market wide, and that might be outside of the category, might be to do with something else that's going on, something's been happening in the industry, something's been happening globally. And it allows you to understand how sales are likely to impact in the future, because share of search as a metric has been shown to be about, I think it's 83% accurate. It's not perfect. No one's saying it is, but you've never had it so easy to go and find out about your brand, what's happening about your brand, what people are searching for, and allows you then to take action immediately. This is instant. This is like SEO, organic search, instant. You'll get instant data, you'll understand the marketplace better, and this is what matters more than anything else. And just think, you walk into your boardroom, you've got your meeting, this is the data you have about your industry that people type into Google is insane when you look at my telescope. And that's why I'm such a big fan of it. It's why I'm such a big fan of share of search as a metric, full stop. Now, share of search provides you with new and usable information around your brand. This can fulfill all kinds of things. So I'll give you a use case. So I do share of search assessments for people and share of search services. So if brands come to me, they want to know more about what's going on around search and their share of market share, sorry, their share of the market and their share of search and their data on search, I will then go and use my telescope to do this, and that's how I do it. And we were doing this for a client, and we found a massive increase in the amount of people searching for, is this business legit? Is, insert the brand name, business legit? And we went back to the client and we said, hey, what's going on? Why has there been a huge, it was like 1,000% increase in searches for, are you legit? What's going on? And clearly that doesn't do well for Google. I'm sure it feeds into Google's algorithm somehow, but certainly on a sales basis, it's not great. So, and the answer was they sent thousands of text messages, mobile phone text messages out to an old list. And clearly that list, either it was the wrong data or incorrect, or they hadn't contacted that list for so long, people got all these messages and thinking, is this business legit? I'm searching for it. And that can help inform, and that did help inform that business that they need to change their text message strategy with this list, that there's a problem about that. So that's just an example of what you can get from Share Search, because it's responding to what's going on right now in your marketing. Now, for example, you'll get your top keywords. You'll get information about this, what people are searching for in relation to your brand. Look at that ChatGPT detector there. It was 201,000 searches in relation to ChatGPT. So there's actually a brand need for a ChatGPT detector. That's what people are looking for, because they're worried about ChatGPT being used. And that's an issue. Why are they searching for that? Who knows? We could dig into this all the time. But then look at ChatGPT free online. People trying to get a free version of ChatGPT that they don't have to pay for. So, and this is all as a result, bear in mind, of publicity and advertising. In fact, I think almost all of ChatGPT OpenAI's success is down to publicity. I'm not aware that they've ran any TV ads yet. So it's all publicity. This much search has been driven by publicity, which should tell you how effective publicity can be. Now, like I said before, this all matters because people search for things they are interested in buying or have purchased before. And we can see this, and we look at, here's an example of Sainsbury's. There's a huge spike in search trend data for Sainsbury's. So loads of people are searching for them. It's probably to do with the Christmas period. But this is the reality. You get data, and then you can say, okay, well, why is this happening? Let's have some discussion around this. Now, your objective, quite clearly as marketers, should be to increase the amount you are searched for. And like I said, you achieve this through publicity and advertising. That's how we do this. You can't create demand for your business without using publicity and advertising and telling more people you exist. That's just the reality of it. And apologies for the double side, but you should aim to be searched for, and this will help you to be found and recognized through search. So, just to finish off, and I'm sure we'll answer some questions in a second, just to finish this off, you're going to have the best chance of sales success by when you are recognized in search rankings because somebody's already seen or knows about you, or you actually searched for. And that's you, because they know what you are and know what they do. They search for your brand directly. And those are the things. If your budget is massively top heavy in relation to paid search listings, all you're doing is reaching a very small amount of people that are ready to buy today. You're not reaching the category researchers, you're not reaching the vast amount of keyword variations out there, and you're paying a lot for it. And you'll never get off that. That's called the performance plateau. You would need to go and invest heavily in search engine optimization and advertising, creative advertising and publicity, and that's got to be funded by somewhere. So you've got a growth challenge. So this is why I say to you, as a brand or as SEOs and as PRs, or whoever it was, you were watching this presentation, that search is changing. We don't know what the end result is going to look like, but we do understand marketing principles, and you should definitely be focusing on increasing your share of search, measuring it, listening to it like an echocardiogram for your business, and then also optimizing for this. Be searched for and also be found through search. That's the solution. That's how you deal with this whole mess. And that's how, in a search engine world where we're probably going to get less informational traffic, this is how you reduce that and stop that. And, that's the end of this presentation. I hope you found it useful. And, I'll hand you back to Andrew now and open up the screen and questions out them out.
Andy, I always knew you would deliver. Thank you very much indeed. One thing I like about Andy is no nonsense style, and it's very clear. We've seen a couple of questions come in. I don't know if you can see the chat as well. I did like Crystal saying, Google's a bit like Pac-Man, I must admit. But Amy had 5 votes. Does this mean we have to change the way we structure and format our design of our content and web pages to make our facts more eligible for Google?
Yes. So if you look at TripAdvisor, this is something really interesting how TripAdvisor do something. You can't go onto a TripAdvisor page and not receive a ton of information, and you will see what interests you. We know from reading science that when we look at pages, we look at what interests us, and our brains are incredibly good at doing that, and incredibly good at filtering out things that are not for us. And you remember what I said, and this is a key thing: is as search evolves, a single web page can mean many things for many people in many different circumstances. You don't have to build a new web page for every circumstance, and that's what's going to happen because it doesn't help Google. And if you think about this from a logical point of view, you have Google is a business. They have costs like every other business, and they want to reduce those costs. That's the whole thing of why they had a knowledge graph in the first place, because it's more efficient for them if they don't need to go and recrawl the internet every 2 seconds because they've got information stored within. That's the same of all these LLM models. So an actual truth is having a website that's got thousands of pages might not be the right thing anymore because you're just making more indexing work when as the search engines get smarter, they can extract greater understanding from your content. The trouble is, and I hate to say this, is search engines were that good before. They've been pretty awful over the years. They've evolved massively, if you think, in a short period of time. So when you're going to look at your information, you look at information in your web pages, they should be informationally fit. And we're going to have to evolve around going after a keyword selection thing, but more about getting the right information about your business and displaying it in the right way. Now that's a content design thing because you don't have to write you don't have to write 10,000 words on a landing page for it to be informationally fit. You can write 2,000 words and it still have vast amounts of information on it if it's displayed correctly. So yes, we are going to have to, as content designers, SEOs, and marketers, look at our web pages. And I've got a whole system for doing this, by the way. I'm well ahead of the tide on this. We're getting results for clients using this. And I've been working on this solid for the last year. So yes, you do need to think about your pages and the information it displays and how it's designed.
Sandor makes a very good point. He's saying he's a bit confused. We do a lot of brand exposure and recognition through all different PR and campaigns and Marcom activities. We already feed this into our share. So, isn't it? How would we further need to improve this within the new AI reality?
Okay, well, if you're telling people in a simple nutshell, is that yes, you can feed the machine, and I can see that now in the bottom, it's just showing up. So you can feed the machine that is Google, and you can feed the machine that is not just the internet, but people as well. And that's the thing here. It's not just about search engines, it's about people. And if you're doing tons of brand search and doing tons of brand advertising and publicity, fantastic. Then you look at your own web pages. Okay, are they informationally fit? Are we ranking for the things we need to rank for? Why aren't we? What's figuring that out? So it's about being as informationally fit as possible on your website, building those relatively good digital PR links. And then on top of that, what you end up with is this brand search as well. And it's a competition, folks, as well. I have to say this. Everything's a competition. Business is competitive. So the idea is you do it better than the others. And if you do it better than the others and you rank higher for longer, you should win more revenue. And if you're being searched for, you will win more revenue. So it's about, if you're doing it great, it's about doing it as the best you can. If you're not doing it, it's about activating it. And ultimately, if you're doing it badly, it's about doing it better.
I've had one from Tina who was saying, how do I get an accurate share of search within a category within my telescope?
That's over to you, Andrew.
Yeah. So first of all, I think there's a very important distinction that needs to be made. Share of search means different things to different people. Share of search is not paid search in the way we look at it. Share of search is not Google Trends, and share of search is not from SEO type tools like SEMrush. And the reason for that is that they are predominantly based on their own algorithms and their estimates. So when you do a share of search, you need to have a fixed number that you can measure against. If you want it as a KPI, it needs to be a fixed number you can measure against. So if you want to get to granularity, you then start looking at the actual keywords that have been used and the volumes of keywords and whether those keywords are going up or down. And those keywords are then used in the way that represent the purchase intent. or we like to say nobody searches without intent. So there's all different types of intent, why somebody's gone and searched. But you can create keywords in and around and put them into a group and then monitor those total volumes of that group that represents the intent you want to follow. So you get a category. So I can then say, I mean, I recently did last week a selection of posts on skincare globally, nationally, then down into a main brand, the brand's leading skincare products, the brand's leading skincare products within a retail environment. And we could see the trend up and down, what was winning in terms of skin conditions, i.e. what was trending globally and what was trending nationally. And we can see these trends. And again, as a marketeer, you're understanding where your product set is. And this particular brand, Aveeno, who's well known for their skincare creams, was in decline. However, their shampoo and other product sets that they had were increasing. Overall, their category of products for their overall brand was increased. And we looked at it over a 4-year period. And they had a lovely, nice rise in trend. So when to come back and actually have a look and say, yes, you can look at category, and you can look at category as a branded search category, but you could also look at category as purely a term or a topic. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, quite a few popping up here. Here's one for you, Andy. How would you advise managing accounts given these upcoming changes? Does it become more important to combine other forms of marketing to increase brand visibility or direct clients? Hang on. Heavily towards future-proofing their sites through increased EAT structures, etc.
Okay, there's a couple of questions on there as well, so I'm going to put all this into one as well as an answer. So right now, okay, so I would go to any brand and I would say to people, what's your share of search? And most people wouldn't know anyway. That's the reality of it. They don't. And a lot of brands are very small, so it's still very competitive because, at the end of the day, we can only spend on publicity and PR what you can spend on publicity and PR and your marketing, and everyone's no different. There's never enough budget. I do a heck of a lot of thought leadership that leads into advertising of some form. It's advertising our services. Every time I write something, it is. So we try to hack it a lot of the time. So quick question. I know someone's put, we've got a lot of brand search. Great, you've got more brand search than anyone else. You've got more brand search in your category. Keep going. Keep doing more of the same because you're going to get further and further ahead and build a bigger business, and you'll buy the other businesses and get their revenue as well. And I know in relation to how to manage this and advertising budgets and things, what it needs people to do, it needs people to almost stop for a second. I don't mean stop doing any marketing. I mean, it means to stop and have a look at where you are in the world in relation to your competitors and your share of search. And that's the first thing anyone comes to me and says, look, I want to help. We want to grow our business, our brand. I would turn and say, let's have a look at your share of search and let's have a look at who you compare against. Because share of search is, by the way, comparison against you versus whoever you want to compete against, in the like for like, because there's always going to be bigger brands out there. So if you're managing these accounts, you have to have a radical look at what your position is right now. And that's going to tell you an awful lot. So, for example, you put your business into my telescope, you put in your competitors, and then hold on, Luke, search is declining for us, and it's increasing for them. What's going on? That should serve, pardon me, serve as a warning signal for you to take action. Now, you might not take action. That's entirely up to you. It's entirely up to the business owners. And if you go to the board and say, hey, Luke, more people are interested in the competition and less people are interested in us, we need to figure out how we change that. And that's where the conversation starts. Where you can do the other side of things, where it's the non-brand intent and you're going on, we use your traditional SEO tools to find this out. Are we ranking for cheap car insurance and things like that, and all the variation? Who's getting the most traffic out of every page? Those are different conversations than the ones that Share Search opens, because with that's an SEO problem. Okay, people are going to search engines and they haven't decided on which brand they want to go for or know about. And as a result, the rankings matter and being visible there, but also equally being recognized matters. And no one ever talks about that bit, the power that being recognized has in relation to search and revenue for brands. So you've got to have an honest look at where you are and what's going on in your category, what's going on with your business, both on an SEO point of view and a brand search. This is why I say to people, if you're in SEO right now, there are very few tools that allow you to do what My Telescope does at the price My Telescope offers it for. But in fact, I don't know of any tool, to be honest with you. Google Trends is a disaster to do it whenever the data's not right, and it's very hard work. And you're going to find granular information from My Telescope. And I don't get paid for by My Telescope or anything, folks. I just recognize it's a great tool and I love what it does and I use it. So what I would say to anybody is you've got to go in, face the mirror. This is the thing about share of search. Share of search does not always make things look great in your favor. And that's the sad thing. But what it does do is show that you can take action, and it shows that there is action to be taken. It might show that your current publicity and advertising isn't strong enough, isn't working, isn't cutting through, and the competition is. It might show that it is. It might show, and no different than when you go and look at your organic search and other search tools. It might show data that you're doing well or badly. And it's about having that recognition, because you want growth. You want brand growth and protect yourself in this future of AI where traffic is probably going to be reduced, and you want meaningful growth. So, yeah, you've got to hold that mirror up to yourself. You've got to jump into a tool like My Telescope, or speak to someone like myself or Andrew to have this data interpreted and have a logical growth plan moving forward to deal with the circumstances you're in. But it all starts by looking at share of search and share of your non-biased search. You need to have a look at both things, and then you can come up with some solutions to move forward.
Andy, I think I've got time for one last question. And I think it's a good one, actually, because it's about sizes of business. David Dance has asked, is there a size of business or level of brand recognition where it starts to make sense? E.g., if my own Google searches for my brand outweighs others, it probably doesn't make sense. He's got a bit more on this. Right. Now, I'll do a quick one on this. I was looking at a local business in the UK. They were providing boiler replacement services and heat pumps. Their major competitor in their local area, and we're talking about this as in a county of the United Kingdom, so this is not nationally. We looked at their competitor and they had zero search, but we looked at one brand who had done the effort to make brand a key part of their marketing strategy, as opposed to a paid search solution. And by far, they were shown to be growing. And it just transpires that they, in fact, were the leading provider in the area. And so much so, they could show that they were winning against the bigger brands, the national energy brands who were advertising in the area. And that was a recognition to say, well, look, we can show that you've generated more interest in your brand than a national brand who advertises in a national basis. That's something that a lot of people don't really understand. Is that, well, nobody, this is rubbish because nobody's seeing me there, or nobody's searching. Well, that's a problem for that particular brand. They're not doing anything about it. And they are always going to be on that treadmill of paying for traffic to their websites. But anyway, that's a good question. We're coming for the last 2 minutes. I don't know if there's any burning questions that need to be answered, or is there a final statement you'd like to make, Andy?
Yeah, I think there's someone's put a comment that I just can't scroll up. My mouse has just turned itself off. But in relation to the marketing mix and things like that, most brands that you speak to are very heavily paying on paid search, and with the belief that that's the right thing, because every time you end up winning a sale. Now, another thing they do is a lot of them spend on, brand paid search. Now, in reality, what tends to happen in those situations is they were already going to buy from you. You've bidded on your own keyword for your own brand that you rank organically for, with the hope that it stops other people showing up at the last minute and winning a bit of, that topper space. And that's how brands that do that tend to have very clever profit margins. And a lot of brands that do it and aren't aware they're doing it, or think they're doing it for another reason, they don't need to, because they would have been chosen. And you'll probably find that if you turn off a lot of your brand PPC or brand paid search, you actually do really well anyway, and you'll probably save yourself thousands. And I know that because I know loads of people that have done it and have made a fortune. But what I would just say for the very last second is you've got to be searched for. your goal should be to be searched for more this year than you were last year. And if you're not, then you have a problem, because search engines can dictate your success and state of your business. So that's what I would suggest changing.
Andy, thank you very, very much. It's been a very insightful presentation, and I'm really pleased with the responses that we've had. We'll be getting a recording of this all to you. If there's any other questions that you have, both of us are available offline. You can come back to us at any time. But from me, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. See you later, folks. Bye-bye.